So this is something that's been actually pretty important because we know we all have our opinions on games, whether you play them, and we all are entitled to our opinions about games so long as we play the actual game. You know, there's some people on here that surprisingly don't actually play the games that they talk about, which is really interesting, you know. And I guess we all have our preconceived notions and stuff. I went to my friend's house actually yesterday, the day that I'm recording this. And I was asking, are you going to get Battlefield Hardline? And he started going off, and he was like, dude, it's going to suck. It's just cops and robbers. No one wants cops and robbers. And I don't like that it's not about military, and it's stupid. And it's like he didn't play the beta at all, to be honest. He didn't play any of the betas. And I'm just, you know, I mean, I'm not going to get into an argument with him regarding dumb video game, but it's like, you know, we all have this preconceived notion, and we'll say something sucks, or we'll criticize something before we actually play it. And I've always made that effort in life to not do that, to judge things based off of my own experience. And you know, this is part of the reason why I play so many games and why I buy so many games, is because I just don't trust what anyone says anymore. Everyone has different opinions, everyone has different experiences and different expectations. And for you to rely on anyone else's expectations, opinions, or whatever other than your own is, I mean, like I've always said, think for yourself. You know, we understand that games are expensive, you know, and many of us, including myself, cannot just afford to go to GameStop at any blazing moment that we want and just purchase any game that we want whatsoever, you know. It's not financially responsible, and we have to many times pick and choose. So we pick the ones that we're excited for, the ones that we actually trust in, or in some rare cases, we take chances on some games. You know, I've been taking chances on a lot of games, and sometimes they turned out really well, and sometimes they turned out very disappointing. But you know, you live and learn. And for the few games that actually do turn out very well, that you weren't expecting anything, that turn out to have, you know, great stories, and they're a lot of fun to play, and they're just a great overall package. It's like the greatest feeling in the world, because you never expected a single thing. When it comes to games coming out today, there's a lot of people and a lot of friends that I would talk to. I'm like, I would recommend them games. For example, I'd recommend a game to my friend. It was Wolfenstein: A New Order. And he kind of turned it off because he was like, oh, isn't it just a first-person shooter, you know? And it kind of frustrated me because, I mean, yes, Wolfenstein New Order is a first-person shooter. I actually thought that Wolfenstein New Order sort of progressed the FPS genre. You know, it sort of innovated it because you could upgrade your abilities and different things. And, you know, the game was just a lot. It had some of the best shooting mechanics ever, had great level design. That game was just fantastic. And a really, really interesting, great emotional story to go along with it. Was just a great package overall. But people still will sit there and criticize the game for it being part of a genre that's, you know, that we are very fatigued by. And, you know, it's kind of, this is the same thing that sort of happened with Crysis 3. I personally didn't like Crysis 3 for a number of reasons. I thought the story was confusing. It didn't end explaining anything. And I just thought that the game and level design was not as fun as the second or even the first Crysis. The first Crysis was the best in my opinion. And the game was also about half as long as the second Crysis. It was the shortest game in the series. So that being said, everyone knows I criticized Crysis 3 a lot, but Crytek kind of came out and they noticed that the reviews were pretty average and lackluster, and they came out and they said, oh, people just don't like Crysis 3 because they're getting fatigued by FPSs, you know. And I think, you know, I wouldn't say that I necessarily got fatigued because it was an FPS. There are certainly games that I play and I just get bored of really quickly, more so than others. But to be honest, I don't play for like 8 or 10 hours, you know. Some people play like intense sections. They'll sit there on their computer and they'll play and they'll click for like 8 hours straight. And I'm just like, really? You know, for me, I think the longest I could probably sit down and play a game would be 4 hours. 4 hours would probably be it. Maybe 3 hours. Generally, I'll play a game for about 2 to 3 hours at a time. I'll get a little bored and I'll go want to do something else. It doesn't really matter the game. Well, I guess it does matter the game. If you're going to hand me the sequel to Mirror's Edge, and I probably won't sit down and just won't take a break because I, I'm really looking forward to that game. But, most 95% of games, let's just say, I will play for about 3 hours and I will sit down the controller, and I just get bored. Shadow Warrior is a game I'm actually playing currently, and I've probably put around close to 15 hours in the game. The game is actually extremely long. I'm very close to the end, but the game is extremely, extremely long, which I'm happy for. I was really surprised by this game and the way it turned out to be. But I'll play Shadow Warrior for about an hour or two, and then I'll just be like, oh, I'm gonna go do something else. And I'll sit down, I'll put the controller down, and I'll go, check Facebook, or I'll watch some YouTube videos and just to kill some time. And then maybe about an hour or so later, I'll pick the controller back up and start playing and resume from where I paused. And, I tend to do that a lot. And, to be honest, it does actually take me longer to beat games now than it did when I was a lot younger. But at the same time, I feel like I enjoy the games a lot more. I don't miss out on a lot of stuff. I take my time. I spend the time that I do spend in the game, I do, take my time and look around, and I'm not just rushing through and trying to complete the story, I am trying to experience the full complete, package, I guess, that the developers have created for us, and that's just the way I play games. As I got older, I started to play games like that. When I was younger, it was like, oh, I just want to beat the game. I just want to beat the game. I just want to beat the game. So I would sit there and I would beat the Call of Duty campaigns in one sitting. And I would sit there and I would beat games like Uncharted Drake's Fortune in a single day because I just played. When I got up in the morning, this is what I used to do. When I got up in the morning, I was like 14, 13 years old. I got up, I sat in my chair, turned on my PlayStation, and started playing immediately. The moment I woke up, I started playing, right? And I don't find myself doing that anymore. Now I wake up, I'm like, okay, take me a little bit while to get out of bed because I'm comfortable, and then I'll go get dressed. The first thing I do is I get dressed. So I do my hair and I brush my teeth, or do the general stuff that you do when you get dressed. All right, then I get dressed. I turn my computer on. I'll get like a glass of water, and I'll sit there and I'll check emails, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and see what else is going on. And then probably about an hour to 2 hours later, after I woke up, I will go ahead and start playing games. But it's funny how different and how drastic I changed over the years, I guess. If you want to use the term maturity, you can use that as well. But it's sort of like I play less than I used to, but at the same time, I feel like I enjoy the experience more because I take my time and I'm not just trying to get through it as fast as possible. It kind of has its negative side to it because, it takes me 3 weeks to get through Shadow Warrior, which is about 16, 18 hours long. Long game, yes, and it takes me, roughly 2 or 3 weeks, depending on how well I'm enjoying the game. But at the same time, when I'm done with the game, I can finally sit down and say, you know what, I had a great time playing that. I guess I'll go play the next game. And that's just, it took me about, I would say 3 or 4 days. I'd say about 4 days to actually beat The Order 1886, which I know a lot of people just hurried up and beat the game as quickly as they could. It took me around 8 hours, I would say, my full complete experience. But I took my time with it, and I tried to prolong my experience as much as I could, and I got my 8 hours out of the game, and that's that. It's sitting on a shelf right now. So, but let me know what you guys think. Do you feel like the fatigue in the market for games in certain genres sort of affect our judgment on the game? And do you also feel like how do you guys really play games? Do you sit there and you take your time, or are you more the type of guy who just wants to play the story and you don't do much side content and you just sort of push it off to the side and say, oh, I'll get to it maybe later? I don't really know. But let me know what you guys think. Thank you all for watching this video and listening to me talk. Have a good one, and I look forward to reading your comments. Goodbye.